Curveballs are inevitable. They are by definition unpredictable. If you live life, you will see curveballs. If you choose a life of leadership, you're going to see curveballs constantly.
Hello and welcome to Center for Victory's podcast of Your Best Day Yet. At Center for Victory, we're here to help unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through personal and professional development. I am Eric Guy, Chief Victory Officer at Center for Victory. With us today, I'm going to give a brief description of our guest, Joelle Kaufman. Very interesting. I think you're going to want to tune in. You're going to love her story. You're going to be inspired. But before I ask her to speak, hopefully I don't miss anything, Joelle, but your life has been shaped by breast cancer since age 13 with your own diagnosis just over a year ago in 2023, the fourth in your family. So drawing from 40 years of experience with cancer and 25 years leading successful startup teams in the Silicon Valley, you've developed a unique mental approach to your treatment that not only eradicated her cancer, folks, but unexpectedly led to her happiest year yet, which is great because, you know, this podcast is called Your Best Day Yet. So she's guided countless people to develop their own approach to cancer and other unexpected problems. I'm going to get in there. I know there's a lot of other stuff, and I'm going to let you explain that, but I'm really excited. I think this is going to be impactful and inspiring to other people. So welcome to Your Best Day Yet, Joelle.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. I love the name of your podcast, and I love that you're the Chief Victory Officer.
Yes, thank you.
We should all have victories every day.
Yes. What other stuff? Like, there's a bunch of other stuff, you do. So I know I missed a few things. So can you go over that too and just kind of
You
elaborate
know,
on that a little bit?
I mean, look, life is rich, right? So I'd say some of the big highlights right now is my book is coming out on January 28th, Crushing the Cancer Curveball. And it is a playbook for the newly diagnosed, their family and friends. And the early readers, the endorsers have really resonated with the mindset approach and the very practical tools. I mean, look, when you live with the specter of cancer for 40 years, when you've seen it 10 times, you kind of get its routine. You get its curves and jives, and it has parts that are always unpredictable, but there's a bunch that's actually is predictable. And one of the secrets, there's two secrets of the cancer community. The first is everyone's better equipped the second time, even though you never want to see it a second time. You're just better equipped because it's not unfamiliar. Number two is we're lucky when you survive cancer, A, because you survived cancer, but B, because cancer brings with it a filter that helps you see the world more clearly. And in a time of constant distraction and polarization, the power of this filter really can shape your whole life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, when you look at it from that way, you've had all this in your life. You say since age 13. So where did it first show up for you? I mean, where did you first run into it?
Well, I mean, look, it was a Sunday night. I was in junior high school, and my parents sat my sister and I down and said, Mom is going in to have surgery, and they think it's probably cancer. And if it is, she'll have a mastectomy and she'll be in the hospital at that point. And this was the early 80s for 6 days. Um, and, the air leaves the room. It doesn't matter how many times you've heard that. When you hear cancer, the air leaves the room because cancer can kill you. Now, truth be known, Eric, if I asked you what percent of women who have been diagnosed with breast cancer and it's non-metastatic, it is localized, what percent do you think are going to live 5 years or more? Just for fun. What comes to your mind?
I would think a fairly high number.
It is a very high number. The number is 99%. But if you watch TV or the movies, you'd think that you're going to die.
Yeah,
And
right.
so we're a little programmed by this plot device that it's cancer, we're going to die. There are people who die from cancer. That is tragic. I have lost family members to the disease. But again, the vast majority are not going to. So the air leaves the room. I'm 13 years old. My sister is 9. And we're like, how does this happen? Our mother's 36. She's like the picture of health. She had just gone back to work. She was so excited to be back in the workforce. And it was really like illogical. So, and cancer is illogical. But I went to the library the next day at school and I did some research and I realized that early stage breast cancer is survivable and my mom was going to be fine. So it was a curveball, but wasn't mine to hit. And frankly, she was in the hospital. She was uncomfortable. It was not fun, but it was very episodic. It happened and she recovered until 2.5 years later when it came back. That was not supposed to happen. And that was the curveball. That
Okay.
threw me completely off my game. And that led to chemotherapy and radiation. And she was uncomfortable. And there were times that she couldn't mother. She was sick. She felt very isolated. Both my parents did. I felt very isolated because, 15-year-old kids, not so experienced, thankfully, in this, and really not great at what to say or what to do.
Hmm.
So we're kind of alone on this journey with all this ick. I still had to get grades done. I still was competing. I still had activities and things to do. So I had to figure out how to adjust and how to adapt my approach so that this curveball wasn't going to strike me out, wasn't going to strike my mom out or my family. So when you kind of realize that, and I see you have a bat in the back of your room, so you like baseball too. When you realize curveballs are inevitable, they are by definition unpredictable. If you live life, you will see curveballs. If you choose a life of leadership, you're going to see curveballs constantly. So I started developing an approach when I was 15. There were other curveballs I hit early on. Very luckily, I failed as a leader when I was 18 and had to develop a new approach to how I wanted to lead people because I liked leading people, but I had really failed publicly. And I got to start developing that. That led me to major in organizational psychology. Then I got into the workforce and I got to start applying. What are these things we've learned all to work? So this approach and having an approach that's intentional. And by the way, I want to specify an approach is not trying to anticipate and plan for everything that might happen.
Good point.
That's anxiety, right? That's crazy making. Um, and you can't. Right? We couldn't predict what was going to happen with my mom. I didn't predict I would fail as a leader, my first really big leadership opportunity. Um, but you can learn how to adjust your approach. I like to tell people, even cancer, curveballs are always moving slower than they appear. So take that breath. Let your reactive limbic system settle. And then you have strengths, you have people, you have your ability to communicate, you have choice. And once you realize that, the curveball isn't so scary.
Yeah, you've mentioned that that cancer diagnosis that when you got diagnosis led to like a remarkable year for you. Like
It
it sounds like you've done some pretty good things already, but like I think you said that really reframed
did.
what what you were doing. Like go into that. That's
Good.
sounds
Yeah, let's do that. So I was being responsible. I have a genetic mutation that leads to an 80% lifetime probability of breast cancer. I had had my ovaries and fallopian tubes out in my late 30s. That brought it down to 40%. And I finally decided to have a prophylactic mastectomy. It's a big deal. It's a big surgery and it's a loss, right? And I really hadn't wanted to do it, but I was like, okay, I'm never going to be as healthy as I am now, as strong as I am now. I mean, that's the way aging works.
mhm.
So if I know I would do this if I got cancer, let's just do it. And wouldn't you know it, I'm diagnosed the day before my surgery. I mean, it's like a cosmic flipping of the bird. And, you know, and my response was some string of expletives, some tears, some gasping for breath, and then my approach clicked in. I need an oncologist. Here are the set of things I know that are going to happen. And because I was supposed to have a major surgery the next day, assumed that half my immediate world knew I was having surgery. And so before I have a plan, before I have a doctor, I'm in a situation where either I communicate with everybody or I'm going to get a whole bunch of people sending me messages. How'd the surgery go? How are you? I'm thinking of you. I didn't want that. So most cancer patients can choose when they communicate, and I could have chosen too,
Mhm.
but I felt the least amount of stress would be to tell everyone what had just happened and tell them what I needed and didn't need and how I would be communicating using something called Caring Bridge. But I had been building a community personally and at work for years. I care deeply about people. When I lead people, I'm truly invested in their success in their career. My job as a leader is to make my team succeed. If they succeed, I'm succeeding. And so there are lots of people, whether they ranged from my personal life, my friends, my children, my family, to my professional life, where I had been making investments, not because I wanted something back. I was making investments because that's how I like to live. I like to invest in other people. The rewards are just, they're fabulous. So here I am. I'm telling everybody, and I'm telling them what I need. And what I really needed was the right oncologist. And I didn't have one. My sister's oncologist had retired. So we're out here, luckily near two major national cancer centers. I need an oncologist. And I like to go fast. I wanted an oncologist. I wanted an appointment now, 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 now. You don't have to go that fast, but that's what I wanted. And I put it out to the universe, and people I didn't know, friends of friends, stepped up and said, I have some connections. Let me make some calls. Eric, I was in world-class oncologist's office and a world-class breast surgeon under 48 hours.
Hmm.
It was astounding. And not that's not necessary. And not everyone's going to have that privilege. I know that's a privilege. And of course, I said to them, can we start chemo tomorrow? And they said, no, we can't. But I started advocating and negotiating. So let's add the second thing. I told everyone, and my years of leadership and my commitment to learning negotiation strategies from everything from getting to yes, getting past no to never split the difference with Chris Voss. I really love how you get people to work together. That's how you get teams to go great. And that is the art of negotiation, right? So here I am. I'm in a major cancer center. I'm already negotiating. Let's see. When can I have my port? When can I do my first chemo? Can I get cold capping? How do I set this up? Can I set this up every day for the next 12 weeks so that it's predictable on my schedule? And I'm telling people. And as it all starts, I start recognizing there's a routine, and I want to give people I love who can't be here, like my sons in college, jobs so they can feel connected. So one of them, I asked him to be my DJ, and he'd send me music for my infusions. The next one, he's a great writer. I asked him if he'd write me a letter every week that I'd open when I was at the infusion center waiting to start chemo. Consider this, Eric, a piece of digital chocolate. But I ask you, right? How many people get a letter every week from their 19-year-old collegiate freshman athlete? I have 12.
Hmm.
They're
Nice.
beautiful. They're not deep tomes of emotion. They're everyday stuff. But I knew he was thinking of me. I asked friends to send me jokes. I had friends who sent me cards and texts, friends who offered to drive me, friends who brought me lunch, friends who brought me meals. I welcomed the love. I worked out. I had been working out. I kept lifting weights. My cardiac capacity went down. I walked instead of ran. Who cares? I ate the foods I liked that I was allowed to eat. Wasn't allowed any sushi. It was sad. Um, I created micro milestones. You talk about victory. You know what I consider a victory? Halfway through chemo, let's celebrate. All the way through chemo, and your cancer responded and is clinically gone, celebrate. You're a victory. Surgery, you're going to have the surgery that's going to remove the organs that tried to kill you. Victory. And I created these celebratory moments. I call them happiness tripwires. They were inevitable. They lifted my soul, and nobody was taxed. People did the little thing they could do, and I didn't need them to do the big things. I have a great medical team. They're doing the big things, right? I have a wonderful husband. I have great kids, like people who wanted to do bigger, like people who flew out when my husband had to travel just to make sure if I had side effects, my 15-year-old daughter didn't have to be my nurse because
Mhm.
that was never going to happen. Anyhow, when I got to my 12th round of chemo, and by the way, you're the chief victory officer, I named my project, because of course it's a project, my cancer obliteration project. I have my cancer obliteration calendar. Everything was focused on how do I blow this thing out of the water? And if I don't, I'll adjust my approach and I have other options to proceed. So when I got to my 12th round of chemo, my world-class oncologist looks at my labs, looks at me, and says, your labs don't look like a cancer patient
Nice.
because of the happiness tripwires. Same exercise, same diet. The difference was my life was full of these gifts of happiness.
Hmm.
And everybody should embed some happiness tripwires in their life. It's not about a big thing to be happier. That's hard. But if I say to you, Eric, I'm just really happy to be here with you. I love the name of your podcast.
Hmm.
You just smiled. That releases a little bit of health and immunity into your body. And that's all it takes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it became a great year. And I know you're going to ask what was my best day. So I'll tell you my best day on that journey. I'll give you two, but the best
Okay.
day on that journey, you go through chemo, celebration, you go through surgery, celebration, but you have these drains, right? And you need them because they're helping your body heal.
Mhm.
Well, one of my drains, one of my areas wasn't healing as fast as I'd like. So I had it longer than I wanted. And when that sixth drain came out and I was free to go travel and be with people I love and celebrate that I was cancer free, they take out the drain and I'm flooded with gratitude and appreciation. I turned to the nurse practitioner and I said, dance with me. And we danced around a treatment room because I was so happy. And she suddenly was so happy because we were in this moment of complete obliteration.
That's fantastic. Now, I don't know if everybody caught it at the beginning. You've been successful in building championships teams in business too. So,
Yes.
how do you take all this and then apply it to the business world? Because some people hear that as that's just kind of fluffy kind of stuff. But the more research over the years that is keeps getting brought out, there it's backed by science. Like these kinds
Oh,
of
yeah.
things work. They don't just work for your personal life, they work for your professional life. So how have you managed to,
Yeah.
what tactics, strategies can you share with us? I know probably not everything, but what are a few things that we need to be looking at as we're taking our personal lives into our professional lives?
Yeah, really glad you asked. And Eric, I want to offer to your listeners, I have a 5-step process for high impact problem solving. And if you're leading people, you're doing problem solving and you'd like to do it high impact. So we'll make that available at for your listeners, and it'll be at www.gtmflow.com/CFV, Center for Victory. So let's talk about how we get out of the fluffy. Because frankly, I like results. I'm very achievement oriented. Obviously, it showed up in cancer, but it shows up at work.
Yeah.
So the first thing is, what are you trying to achieve? What is the outcome? And is everybody on the team clear on this is what we're trying to achieve and this is the important thing? You have to prioritize. Your job as a leader is focus and alignment. Conflict on your team comes from people not having the same focus and people not knowing what their roles are and people not being able to communicate. Your job, my job, is to fix those things. So, really clear on what's important. And when we get new information, new curveballs, we have to pause, check our alignment. Imagine your team is a car on an off road and you're bouncing a little bit. You got to make sure those tires are in alignment. So that's not holding them rigid, right? You do that, you break an axle. You got to be adjusting. So as a leader, you're adjusting and you're sharing that adjustment and inviting people to contribute to that adjustment. Number one. Number two, everyone's got to be clear on their role. So nobody likes conflict. Nobody wants to upset someone. We all avoid it. But avoiding being clear, Eric, this is your role in the team. This is what we really need from you. And Joelle, this is what we need from you. But I want to do what Eric does. I appreciate that. Right now, we need you to do this. Now, if I keep telling someone they can't do what they want to do, they're going to leave. So I do need to navigate how to develop people while being clear on what's your role, where do we need you right now, and where do you want to go? My deal with everyone who ever worked for me was if you deliver for me what I've asked, you can ask me for just about anything on your career progression, and I will deliver it for you. I will make it happen. I will give you opportunities. So it's a deal. So that's number two. Number three, communicate with people. So I'm very open. I'm willing to be vulnerable. I make a mistake. The worst part of a mistake is the cover up. Just own it and learn from it. We're human. We fail. We make mistakes. We're all using Gen AI and people are like, oh my God, there's a 95% failure rate. Yeah, it's actually a feature. It's not a bug. We're supposed to be iterating. So we need to look, see, you're smiling again. We need to look at our teams as continuously failing, learning organisms.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first thing that starts is here's my mistake. I'll tell you something that happened yesterday. I was doing a workshop for a whole marketing team of a large SaaS company, and it was on a particular topic. And neither the leader nor I realized in advance that my workshop might trigger the person who leads this particular function to feel defensive. And we started to see that. And I felt terrible because this had nothing to do with how she was doing her job or whatever. It was actually to make her role pervasive and more important. So I owned it in the middle of the workshop. I said, I should have talked to her. We should have aligned so I knew more about what you have tried and are doing. I apologized for that. And then said, here's where we're going to go. And she relaxed. She was seen. She was recognized.
Mm-hmm.
Took me, what, 20 seconds?
Right.
I owned a mistake. And I modeled for people, we're going to make mistakes and we're going to own them publicly. And we're going to move on and learn. So clarity of goal, clarity of role, and communicate with empathy. Communicate the way you need to hear it and be real. So we do all that, and then we use data. We want data. We want to know what we're measuring. We want to be clear what we're measuring and why it matters. Go back to the goal. Measure. When the measurement tells you it's not going well, that's really good news, right? Because now we have something, a curveball we can see and we can go fix. So everything I just described and the language I use is the language of business. It's the same approach that I used on my cancer journey. It's the same approach that I used when one of my kids flew off the rails in school and we had to figure out why he wasn't able to learn in the environment he was in, right? Because curveballs happen.
Right.
What's the objective? What's the role? How are we going to communicate and connect? And how do we measure our success?
Good stuff. How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can always reach me at Joelle at gtmflow.com, or go to gtmflow.com. There's all kinds of contact opportunities there. Or you can follow me at Grit Growth Resilience on Instagram. So those are the best ways to get in touch.
All right. And then the resource, once again, could you go over that for us, for our listeners? Because I think
Absolutely.
that's very generous.
Yeah, it's a 5 steps to high impact problem solving. And if you follow the 5 steps, you can't miss. So you can get that at www.gtm, go to market, flow, like we're flowing, .com/CFV, standing for Center for Victory.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that. And then the book, January 28th.
January 28th, it'll be on Amazon. You can get more information at joellekaufman.com if you want to get launch day discounts, or
Yeah.
if you need resources. I have a bunch of free resources there, tools I built along my journey so that my medical team and had all the information about what was happening when I wasn't in front of them, which was most of the time.
Yeah, and that's Crushing the Cancer Curveball. So look out for that. That sounds, just the title alone makes me want to pick that up. So, but I like all the transitions into personal professional life. So I'm sure there's a lot in there that maybe we can have you back on again and go through those too, because there's just probably so much to unpack that we didn't today.
Happy
Uh,
to do.
yeah. So last question, Joelle. You know it's coming. So it's your best day yet. How do you define that for yourself, professionally and personally?
So my best day professionally is when I see a leader or a team achieve something they thought was impossible. And the pride, I remember when I came into a company and they said, "We really want you to launch our company from stealth in 3 months." And I said, "Oh my God," but we did it. We did it well. And the team that did it, and it wasn't just the marketing team. We needed the sales team. We needed the product team. We needed the exec team. We needed the company, the pride, the energy, and the feeling of whatever comes, we can do this together. We have a great team. Ugh, that is my best day professionally. And quite frankly, my best day personally are the days where I have my kids, my husband, we're all together and we're doing something like, I don't know, skiing or playing a board game, and we're just enjoying being in each other's presence. I feel so blessed that the adult children I raised are people I enjoy knowing.
Wonderful. Great answers. Well, thank you for being on, Joelle. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the inspiration. Gang, I really hope you've been inspired as much as I have. Just that, these simple yet just profound things. Make sure you mark it in your calendars, January 28th. Go out and get that book, Crushing the Cancer Curveball. I think it's going to be jam-packed. I haven't got it yet, but I will. But I think it's going to be jam-packed with great, great things. Joelle, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Gang, you can look for more information at centerforvictory.com. Like, share, do all that good stuff with the video. We appreciate your attendance, listening, and watching. And just remember, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, make this your best day yet.
Amen.